In this podcast, I'm going to be talking about the top sports cards I'm looking to buy, and one is going to blow your mind. A friend I met that's $500,000 in debt, which is insane, and just some Q&As I've got from you guys revolving around the world of sports cards. I got a bunch of good questions to answer, and we are live for Beyond the Game episode number 27. And if you don't know who I am, hi, my name is Eric Michael. I've sold over $5 million in sports cards, and 4 years ago, I launched a coaching program to help people make a realistic, stable side income buying and selling sports cards. I've been doing it since August of 2015 is when I bought my first sports card of Steven Matz, who used to be a big prospect for the New York Mets. Changed my life. I've been doing it for the past 10 years. I've been so fortunate where I've never had to work for anyone. I lived an amazing life of freedom, and my goal is to get as many people there as possible. And in this podcast, the first thing I'm going to do is answer some of your questions and go into some sports cards related stuff, and then I have some other topics I want to talk about. But let's go into some Q&As first. Now, the first question is from Chris. So Chris says, currently a little lull in buying and turning this time of the year. What is the best way to keep ROI consistent weekly during the later part of the year? Football's in season, basketball too late to buy to get back before season, baseball's in the playoffs. Thoughts? Yes, I have thoughts. So we're actually getting into, my opinion, the best time of the year to buy cards. So this is what happens in sports cards, and it's funny. It's like clockwork. Every single year, towards October, November, December, the sports card market begins to go down because the holidays and the market just gets a little bit weaker because we're getting towards the end of football. There's not much excitement, and it's an amazing time to buy. You can get so many cards at these insanely discounted rates. And then in January and February, the market begins to pick back up with baseball, and then we head into the NFL draft, and a lot of the good football cards come out, and basketball cards like Contenders and Prism usually come out earlier in the year. So that's how the market works, and it's like clockwork every single time. Now, what I would say is, like, if you're asking me what to buy right now, personally me, I'm looking to buy some football. So, like, I'm being picky about it. So, like, CJ Stroud to me is okay to buy. I don't think he's going to tank. He's pretty stable. He's come down like 20, 30%, and he'll stay there if he keeps playing like he is, which I'm assuming he's going to. And God forbid he gets hurt, I'm sure it'll go down. But there is some upside if he starts winning in the playoffs. Some guys who I'm not buying is like Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, Bryce Young. They're just like, usually what I like to do is buy the guys that have dipped a little bit, but they've dipped just way too much. Like, they're so bad, they could be backups. And right, we don't want to buy people that are backups because then their value will really plummet. So that's what I'm looking to do. So CJ Stroud's a buy. Some guys who are like stable, like Josh Allen and Mahomes. And when I'm saying buy, I mean buy cards raw to get graded, not hold. I'm not holding any of this football stuff. And then also basketball at the moment, I'm not touching, not buying. I still have some basketball cards I need to sell. You can probably see a few behind me. And then baseball is where the money is going to be made, in my opinion. So me personally, I buy a lot of cards that are already graded, like higher end cards worth $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 plus, because it takes less time to find these cards. I know people that have them, and it's just easier. My time is very capped at the moment, so I don't have as much time to buy raw and get graded and do that whole thing like I used to. But same principles apply. So like, yeah, I'm not buying any baseball guys that are in the playoffs because those guys are just too volatile. They'll probably see a dip once the playoffs end if they don't win the World Series. But there's so many prospects out there, like the Tigers guy, Max Clark, or Marcelo Myers, someone I've talked about. Or if you have some balls, you could buy Jordan Lawler, who's come down a lot because he hasn't panned out yet. So, like, I love to buy prospects at this time of the year because just no one's buying it. It's so freaking cheap. There's a secret. Well, I guess it's not a secret anymore. So that's what I love to do. And like on top of that, what I love to do is buy prospects that have a high chance of getting called up once this season is coming about. So once the 2025 MLB season is coming, I ask myself, okay, like right now it's October while I'm speaking. And I'm asking myself, all right, who is going to have the most hype or excitement or demand? Okay, simple question, right? Whoever has the most hype, that means their values are probably going to go up the most, which means you're going to make the most amount of money. Simple, right? So just ask yourself, who's going to have the most amount of hype? Well, when I asked, just to give you an example, like when I asked myself this back in January or February last year when I was looking to buy football, some guys I said to myself was like, Jordan Love, he had a really good season. He lost in the playoffs, so his value came down. I could see him having a lot of hype. Cardinals, Kyler Murray, once I saw them draft Marvin Harrison, or I knew that was a high potential, because once they drafted him, his value went up. So I asked myself these questions. And baseball, all you have to ask yourself is, okay, who has a good chance of getting called up for the first time during this season that's upcoming? Okay? Because my buddy Dylan, I don't know if you're listening to this, Dylan, if you are, hi. So Dylan's the one that changed my life. He's from my hometown in New Jersey, and he's the one that got me into sports cards to begin with. And he made a good point a few weeks ago. He said, no one gives a shit once the player has played in the professional leagues. What does that mean? The hype has died. Unless they're the next Mike Trout, Aaron Judge, which they never are, very rarely, nobody cares anymore. But before that happens, before they get called up, it's a good chance, it's a good opportunity, to make money. So ask yourself that. So like when I ask myself that, okay, Marcelo Meyer is 21 years old. He's in AAA. He's had a good year. He'll probably be the shortstop for the Red Sox next year. I don't know if he's going to play well or not. He probably wouldn't play well. If I could short his stock, I would. Like, also, that's a side note. I wish you could. If anyone knows how to short players' stocks, like short sports cards, I'd be very wealthy. If you know how to do that, let me know, because I'd be betting against all these players. But Marcelo Meyer probably will be a 260 guy, but he's going to have a lot of hype and excitement, I assume, February, March. So like, that's what I ask myself. And like, that's the type of stuff you should be buying. Now, I'm buying this stuff already graded, but when I'm talking, most of you guys should be buying raw, getting it graded. And then should you hold it till January, February? Well, that's just a question depending on your budget. If it's not worth it to hold cards, so make an extra 20% and wait an extra 2 to 3 months when you can just take that money right now and double it or triple it again before it ever goes up. So that's just a question on your budget. But that's what I'm looking to buy, and you can get some of this stuff so cheap. It's insane. So hopefully that answers your question, Mr. Chris. All right. Aubrey says, I've got a collection of 1993 and 94 modern cards. I've got the collection on eBay, asking $145 for all of them. $145. There's a lot of high-end cards, and even Alex Rodriguez, Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, Chipper Jones, and so many more. Is that a bad price for them? I have no idea, Aubrey. I have no idea what cards you got. I assume when you say $145, only $145, so you probably don't have much. The only thing I would say when it comes to like older cards, when you have a collection or you just have older cards that you're not sure what they're worth, look up what they're worth, number one. And number two, what should you do with them? Well, you should get them graded if it's worth it. And it's worth it to get the card graded if it's in good condition, number one. And you'll know if it's a good condition. Just watch one of my freaking YouTube videos. I talk about condition of cards all the time. I have multiple videos where I go over how to evaluate the condition. And then number two, just can you at least double your money? Right? That's the question you always want to ask yourself. So like if you're going to spend $20 to get a card graded, well, is it worth $40 if it tens? And then if it's a card from the 80s or 90s, I would not assume it's going to 10. I would assume it's going to 9 if it's in good condition. Because even cards from that long ago, it's just hard to 10. Even if you think it's perfect, good luck. It's freaking impossible. Trust me. And also these companies like to keep the pop count low. So that's what I would ask myself, Aubrey. Hopefully that helps. All right, Gregory. In a previous podcast, Eric said there is only 2 reasons your cards are not selling. Number 1, you're asking too much for them. Number 2, Greg, if you want my exact phrasing, I said you got shit no one wants. So if you have cards that don't sell, either A, you're asking too much, right? The card's worth $100 and you want $200. No one's going to give you that. And then number 2, you got stuff no one wants, right? There's just cards out there that just aren't liquid. People don't care about them. Like, just to give you an example, this is the best example I can think of. So, baseball. So, there's certain type, when I say the word products, I mean like brand of cards. That's like the best way to describe it. So, when it comes to baseball, for example, some of the highest end, when I say highest end, I mean most liquid. Some of the most liquid types of products are Bowman Chrome, Topps Heritage, Topps Chrome, Topps Series. These are very just sought after types of cards, Bowman Chrome being the highest. Some that are less liquid that people really don't want for whatever reason this is a good one, Topps Inception. It's like not bad, and it looks super cool. Like if you just didn't know anything about cards and you just looked at these cards, you'd be like, wow, that one is worth a lot of money. But it's not, and people just don't want it for whatever reason. I mean, I know the reason, because original collectors want the original type of stuff, like Bowman Chrome, Topps Chrome, stuff like that. So that's kind of how it works. And like to take it a step farther, like for example, Flawless, right? Like Flawless is a really high-end product for like basketball and football. It's worth a lot of money and it's very liquid. However, with baseball, because Panini makes Flawless and they don't have the rights to the MLB to put people's logos on there. And if you ever look at a Flawless Shohei Ohtani card, for example, you'll see just there's no logos anywhere. And because of that, it's not liquid. People do not like products that are not licensed. Mark that one down. So that's just an example, right? We have baseball, but those are products that are less liquid versus ones that are more liquid. And if you're trying to sell stuff that's just very not liquid, I guess is the best way to say it, you're going to have a tough time selling it. Hopefully that makes sense. Warren says, does archive on the back of a vintage card at the bottom mean it's not authentic? I'm not exactly sure. Send me a picture because I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to, Warren. Send me a picture of that one. Nick. See, we got Nick here. This is a long one. Let me take a sip before I go into this one. Says, congratulations on buying your first property. It's a great feeling to own real estate. I have several. Keep buying. I asked you about collecting hockey cards with my son about a month ago. I wanted to know if your free video to watch before your paid program is suitable for a 10-year-old son to watch. That made me, I'll explain why I'm laughing at that in a second. Also, will it give me enough information to use prior to your paid program, and will it work with hockey cards? The reason I ask is that my son wants to keep breaking boxes instead of purchasing on eBay and grading cards. Hopefully watching your video will help him understand why breaking boxes makes no sense. All right, that's a lot. First, I'll go into, so the reason I laughed at that is because you asked me, is your free video suitable for kids? And I know sometimes my mouth just goes crazy and I say things that are not appropriate for a 10-year-old to listen to, but that video, there's no cursing, there's nothing crazy. It's very suitable. Number two, it doesn't really go, I mentioned in the video, and I mentioned in all my videos, that breaking boxes and packs is just a losing game. So you could show them any of that stuff, but I think you're going to have to do more of a job of explaining how all you're doing is gambling, and gambling is a bad thing. And yeah, it's more fun. Like your 10-year-old son just wants instant gratification like most 10-year-olds do, right? So good luck trying to explain that to him. And number three, so you're talking about the webinar. So if you ever see my ads and you click it, on the next page is a webinar. It's like a 30, 40-minute video. It explains how to make money in sports cards and what I do. And at the end, you could purchase the program. What I would do is, you could take two routes. I mean, either A, just to be like straightforward with you. The video will be, if you take the video like that you watch and my YouTube videos and combine them together, there's more than enough information out there to learn how to make money with sports cards. The webinar alone, you'll have to pair that with the YouTube videos. However, what I would say is like, and this is not me just trying to sell you into the program. Like if you're telling me here you have multiple pieces of property, you're probably not poor. So in the program, it's not expensive, and there's a 6-month refund for the Academy program, because all you're paying for, because like my YouTube videos and my webinar and these podcasts I do, it's great information. And honestly, all the information in my course you can find throughout my YouTube videos and all over the place. But what you're paying for, right, is speed of learning, because the only thing you can't buy back in life is time. So like what I would say is like, obviously you're not poor if you have multiple pieces of property. I'd probably buy the program to save you time and make you money faster, because that's all it is. It's condensed information. I mean, also you get like coaching, coaches just tell you what to do. And actually, that's a big part of it too. In a community, it's worth it 100 times over, to be honest with you. But if you're skeptical and you don't want to do it, the YouTube videos and video alone will be worth it. But there is a 6-month refund policy, so like there's no risk. And also, the only thing you can't buy back in time or in life is time. But you could do it with paying it forward for courses and programs, because all you're doing is giving me money. And then I take my 10 years of knowledge, pack it into a course, and it takes you step by step by step by step on exactly what to do. So you don't need to go through all my YouTube videos and different videos and be like, oh, does this work? Does this not? Like, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4? So That's what I would say. So like, yeah, you're gonna have to be the one that convinces your son and tells them to stop breaking boxes because it's a losing game. Maybe break a box with them and be like, look, we paid $200 for this box and we have $50 in cards. Do you want to keep doing that? No. And then number two, yeah, the program I just explained, the webinar. And then number three, yeah, real estate's interesting, man. You said it's a great feeling to own real estate. Well, let me tell you something. It's not a great feeling to buy. It's to get the process of buying real estate. It is a pain in the ass. And you want to hear something really stupid I did that I just never thought of? So I've been using credit cards for years. For sports cards, for everything. Like I've always put it on a credit card. 'Cause, what's the point of using your own cash? You get rewards, you get points, you build up your credit. Well, here's a nice piece of advice for you guys who will buy real estate one day. So I've only used business credit cards. Very rarely, if any, I've used personal. And because of that, on my credit history, it shows I have no history of credit. So my credit score should be like 800 plus. I spend 100 grand plus a month using credit, which is and it's always paid off on time. Like every week it's on auto pay. Great credit I should have. No, I don't. My credit score is only 680 or 690 or something. I can get it bumped to like 700s, but it's because I've never used a personal credit card, and business credit cards do not count towards your personal credit score. Do I understand it? No. I mean, my name's on the freaking credit card. I'm the one paying it. But because of that, my interest rate, so it's an investment property here. It's for Airbnbs. It should be like, I don't know, high sixes, maybe 7%. But because my credit score is not 750, 770, 800, my credit score is like, or the interest rate's about 7.5%. So my monthly payment's an extra like $500, $600, $700 because of it. I'm working on getting it fixed to get my credit score a little bit up. But apparently, using business credit cards does not count towards your personal credit. And I screwed myself out of probably over the course of the mortgage, an extra like 150 grand, I would assume, because I never used personal credit cards. I think it's dumb, but don't get me started on that. But yeah, real estate is fun, man. It's kind of like sports cards. That's just the biggest level. It's like you buy raw cards and you flip them, right? You buy raw cards for $100, $200, you flip them, you make a few $100s. And then you start to buy bigger cards. You start to buy cards already graded, hold them for a few months like I do, like these cards behind me. You buy a card for $8 grand and then you flip it for like 10 grand, 11 grand, 12 grand. But once you have a real excess amount of cash, buying a sports card and trying to deploy $500,000 into cards, well, it's not that easy. You could buy a Babe Ruth whatever, and it'll be worth $500,000, but it's at that point, I think real estate is a better financial vehicle than buying a card. So when you're buying cards for hundreds of thousands of dollars, because you could buy a card of a Steph Curry rookie card, let's say for $500,000, and it'll appreciate maybe 10, 15, 20% a year. But real estate, what's interesting is, one, you could buy it raw and like in bad condition and get it fixed up, so immediately you make money off the bat as soon as you purchase the property and put money into it. Number two, now you have a mortgage, right, with an investment property. You put 20% down and there's 80% left that needs to be paid off. But if you do it correctly on Airbnb, like I'm doing it, or long-term rental, you could have someone paying that off every single month and make some profit on top of it if you know what you're doing. So, and you're building, right, and you're building equity into this home. And if you're buying it in the right area, it'll be worth like 10, 20, 30% more. So that's what I think. I think real estate, once you get to like $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, it's worth actually, when you're spending that type of money, real estate is the much better angle. Like once you have over, 100 grand in cash to work with, you probably start wanting to look at real estate, because sports cards, there's only so many like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 cards you could find and buy. And this is just coming from my experience. Like I don't really like to buy cards over like 10, 12, 15 grand. To be honest with you, my dog just threw up below my desk. If you're curious why I'm looking down, she's a freaking idiot. She was eating some grass earlier today and she threw it up. But because I've had trouble like making money on cards that are like 25, 30, 40, 50 grand. They're just not as liquid, but like 5, 6, 7, 8 grand, 10 grand, those cards, they move, people could trade for them and stuff. A lot of people have like 10 grand in cards to trade, but a lot of people don't have like 25, 50 grand. So like that's kind of like, at least in my opinion, because I like high risk. I have a massive tolerance for risk, if you haven't noticed already, because I love to gamble. Real estate, most people in my circle tell me, hey, just put money in a 401k or whatever, but I'm like, fuck that. I don't want to do that. I like high risk. Let's get into real estate. So that's kind of like, I think like if you have $10,000 to work with, the best trajectory for your money, buy raw cards, get them graded. You can start making 3, 4, 5 grand a month. Do that for a year. The next year or two, keep doing that, but now put some money into already graded stuff worth a few grand, 5, 6 grand, make 20, 30% of the money, get your bankroll up to 100, 200,000 plus, and then take maybe half of it and deploy it into real estate. So now you have someone else paying off your property, you're building up equity, hopefully the land appreciates as well, and you can use it to write off taxes. So that's just my opinion on money, but honestly, I am not a financial advisor in any type of way. I know how to buy and sell sports cards, and I'm learning real estate a little bit. I know how to build a digital marketing business. That's about all my skill sets. Good question, Nick. Go convince your son that it's a losing game. Rob says, interesting question here. Generally, are cards that have a signature worth more than ones that don't? No. Here's something interesting. So this is an interesting thing. So blow your mind. Let's take a gold prism, like a very high-end card. A 2018 Luka Doncic gold prism. There's two of them. And they're both numbered to 10. There's a gold prism not autographed and a gold prism autographed, okay? And you would think, oh, these cards are inherently similar. The autographed one would be worth more. Negative. It's not. Especially with prism, non-autographed goes for more. Why? It's just what people like. I don't know. It's just how it goes. But so no, signature does not mean it's worth more. And what's funny, like a quick backstory on that, is so back in 2018, when Prism came out, so Prism used to come out like November and December in the beginning parts of the basketball season. At that point in time, was really just like non-autographed cards and selling for a lot of money wasn't really a thing. The only non-autographed card that sold for a little bit of money was a 2011 update Mike Trout. You can make some money on that. Other than that, non-autographed cards were not a thing. And I remember 2018 Prism came out and it was gaining a lot of traction, all these non-autographed cards. And it sounds weird to say now, but back then I was so skeptical of it. I was like, should I be buying these and getting them graded? Like they're grading well, they're selling well, but like I thought it was just going to crash. The idea of rookie Luka Doncic not autographed card selling for $1,000 was just mind-blowing. And it sounds funny to say now because it's so obvious, like, duh, they all do. But like back then, it wasn't a big thing. So I sat there for like 2 weeks just looking at the Prism sales and all these people making money. And I was like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. So I bought a green Pulsar those are numbered to 25, I think. I think back in a few podcasts ago, I said on accident it was numbered to 8, and I got a lot of shit for it. But I think it's green Neon Fast Breaks numbered to 8. The green Pulsar is numbered to 25. There's so many. But I believe it was a green Pulsar numbered to 25. And I bought this card for about $1,000. And I was so nervous at the time because to my name, I probably had about $8,000 to my name, maybe $10,000 to my name. It's a lot of money, right? I just put 10% of my net worth in a card. And I was really skeptical of the idea of it making money for me because it was not autographed. And I never bought a not autographed card up to that point. But anyways, I bought it. Luka Doncic is really rolling. People love him. He's international. The way he plays, all offense, no defense. No one cares about defense. And I bought the card. I sent it to Beckett back in the day. Beckett was the place to send cards. 1 second. And it got a 9.5. It was a min gem. It was a 9.5 everything except for the surface, I think. And I sold it. I posted it to Facebook. I sold it for $2,700 like that. Like that. And then I was like, okay, non-autographed cards are obviously a thing now. But that's kind of like the history, at least my history on like autographed and not autographed cards. Interesting. Interesting the history of sports cards, because so many of you guys got into sports cards after the pandemic, or during the pandemic or after, because that's when it got hot. But I was in 2015, and it's funny because there was always a lot of money in sports cards, because no one knew it until the pandemic happened, when like Gary Vee started to go crazy, and Drake and Logan Paul with the, or Jake Paul, whoever it was it Jake or Logan with the necklace? Logan Paul with the necklace of the Charizard. So interesting. Rob P says, should you only go after rookie cards? If not, what are some of the best cards to target besides your downtowns, kabooms, and stained glasses? So me personally, I only buy rookie cards. Yeah, because when I'm buying cards, either A, I'm buying a raw to grade, or B, I'm buying it already graded. And usually I'm buying someone that's like hyped and someone that people like are pretty bullish about. And just think about it logically for a second. So like you could buy cards like 2022, 2023 cards like Patrick Mahomes. You could. But think about this, right? If you buy a card and let's say it's worth $100 and you get it graded and now it's worth $300, and let's say it's a card of CJ Stroud. When you go to sell that card, there's a 95% chance you are selling it to a collector or like a long-term investor. If the card is already graded, more than likely you're selling it to someone that has the mindset, okay, I like CJ Stroud as a player. I think the Texans are going to do well in the future. I'm going to buy his cards now, hold them, flip them, and make money. That's what you're buying. Even me, when I buy graded cards, I'm buying it with the intention for it to go up in value in the offseason, right? So anyone that has a brain knows that when a rookie, or not a rookie, but when a player is doing well, his rookie cards are what people want, okay? So if I'm looking to put my money into CJ Stroud, for example, well, I'm not going to put it into a card that's his second year. I want to put it into his first year. If I have because if you have $1,000 in CJ Stroud cards, and let's say you have $1,000 in 2023 cards versus $1,000 in 2024 cards, well, his rookie year 23, if those cards go up 50%, his 2024 cards won't go up 50%. They'll go up marginally, like 10%, 20%. And because of this is some deep thinking here. Because of this, when you buy raw cards and get them graded and flip them, if you buy guys that second, third, fourth, fifth year, the margins between raw to graded, your profit margin gets smaller because there's not as much desire for them and demand, which means less profit, right? As opposed to CJ Stroud, when you go and buy a rookie card of 2023 and go and sell it now that it's graded at 10, well, guess what? There's way more people that want it because it's just more desirable. And the more people that want it, the more bids there are, the more it's more competitive, means the prices go up. When you think about it like that, it's kind of common sense-ish. Sort of common sense. Okay. So that's it for the sports card stuff. Actually, no, I got two more sports card things. Actually, you know what? I'm going to save those for the end. I have two interesting buys that I think are just interesting. Interesting purchases right now you can make that not a financial advisor, but I think could go up a lot. And one of them is not what you're expecting me to say. All right. Some things I wanted to go over. So I bought my first piece of real estate, which I think is interesting. So now real estate is, okay, so I'll just be very straightforward. So I bought a property in Seminole, Florida, which is next to like St. Petersburg. And I bought it for $1.15 million. And I think this is fascinating, the math behind real estate. So what you could do with real estate, first off, and the reason I got into it, I hate getting distracted from my business. Like I hate it. I hate it because distractions are like the worst thing an entrepreneur could do. But at a certain point, I've been so fortunate from sports cards and from Major League profits, I've made just excess amounts of money. There's this thing at the end of the year called taxes, okay? And your boy is in the 37% tax bracket. So yes, if you make $1 million in a year, $370,000 goes to the federal government if you do nothing about it. Sucks, right? And I'm in Florida, so there's no state tax, so it's just federal. So as a business owner, that's my biggest expense. And we've made a lot of money, and I don't want to pay 37% to the government. I'm okay. I want to pay, like, I have this thing in my mind where, like, 15% sounds good, 20%, 37% is fucking crazy. Excuse my language. Think about that. Think about 37%. And I'm not a political person. You know, it's funny because I'm not a political person. I'm not going to say who I'm voting for, but I don't follow politics all too much. But I finally understand why people get so hell-bent about politics, especially business owners, because think you have 12 months in a year, and if you're paying 37% in taxes, you are literally working for 4 to 5 months of the year for no reason, for it to just boop, go to the government. Isn't that insane when you think about it? And even if you're in a lower tax bracket, like a 25% tax bracket, you're working 3 months of the year for nothing. Like January, February, March, you're working for free. Isn't that crazy? But anyways, so what you could do with real estate, and I'm not a real estate expert by any stretch of the imagination, is what I've learned is you could do something called depreciation. And you can take the value of the home and depreciate it and use that as a loss against your business. So for example, this piece of real estate, so it sits sort of by the water. So out of $1.15 million, about $800,000 of it is the property, like the building, and the other few hundred grand is the land. So what you could do is take the $800,000, which is the value of the property, or the building, excuse me, which is the value of the building, and you could say, okay, well, the government says you could depreciate this over the course of 27 and a half years. So you could take $800,000 divided by 27 and a half. Let's see what that is, because I have no idea what that is. I probably should, because I bought this piece of property. So 800,000 divided by 27.5 is $29,000, okay? So you can say, okay, for the next 27 years, I could take $29,000 against my income. I could deduct that as a loss. However, for me, $29,000 against my income is not doing anything. But what you could do is have someone that does what's called a cost segregation study. And I'm telling you this, guys, for you guys who make $100,000 to $200,000 plus, this could be helpful. And someone could come into your property and say, okay, this building looks great, but there's a bunch of things in here that could be depreciated much faster than 27 and a half years, like this laundry, like this couch, like this pool, like this barbecue. And they could add it all up, and they could say, okay, out of this $800,000, we've determined that $300,000 of it is stuff that depreciates less than 20 years. And if something depreciates less than 20 years, you can do something called bonus depreciation. I know there's so many fucking terms. And take 60% of that and deduct it against your income. So if someone does a cost segregation study and says, okay, $300,000 out of this $800,000 is depreciable faster than 20 years, I could take 60% of that. So 60%, 180 of 300,000, right? $180,000 off against my income. That's how to use real estate to write off your taxes. And then on top of that, mine's going on Airbnb. My mortgage payment is about $8,000 a month. But if I do it right, I can net $12,000, $13,000 a month from Airbnb and make a $4,000 to $5,000 profit. And on top of that, someone else is paying my house off for me. Interesting, right? So the way I look at it is, I hate it because it's a distraction. I've had to learn this whole other thing, and it's taken so much time away from my business this past month. It's worth it in the long run because it's your biggest expense as a business owner, right? And it's a long-term game. So like you could write off taxes now, and you look up in 5 years from now, and you have all this equity in houses, and hopefully the houses have went up a lot in value too, which is great. Like this area is pretty booming and popular. So interesting. Real estate's an interesting thing. Some other news. So what I think is also interesting. So I had someone in my school group. So if you guys don't know what school is, school, SKOOL, is a community where you can build a community. We have a community on there where there's like one coaching call a week. There's a community almost like a Facebook group. There's a classroom with a bunch of videos. It costs $47 a month. And I do the coaching calls sometimes. And I was on one of the coaching calls, and he was like, hey, do you think I should join your program? And I would not recommend joining the program unless you have an extra $1,000 or $2,000 to spare to buy cards, or else it's a waste of time because you need money. Because like I don't want you joining the program unless I know I can make you like $1,000, $2,000 a month. And he was like, hey, should I do it? Like I have the credit, but like I'm kind of limited. And I actually told him, no, you should not do it because it would take you too long to make money and to pay off the program, and it doesn't make financial sense. I would use the school group, get a bankroll of a few $1,000s, and then, if it makes sense and you want to, then do it. And he sent me this long message afterwards, like so appreciative of the fact that I didn't push him to buy it, which is funny because think about business owners, right? All you guys watching this have probably seen all the ads of all these internet marketers promoting the idea, make money this, make money that. And just like you and just like me and just like 99% of people, we want to make as much money as possible. Right? Oh, that makes sense. And let's think about this from my angle. Let's say I'm the greediest person ever, and I want to make as much money as possible. That's all I care about. All I care about is myself, my own wallet. What I told this guy is actually going to make me the most amount of money possible. We turn people away from our program all the time. And the reason I do that is so my company makes as much money as possible in the long run. And think about that. Think about it. There's 10 people. And let's say 7 of them are qualified and 3 of them could join the program, but they're not really qualified to do so. Well, let's say my program cost $1,000. So on side A, I could sell 10 people into the program. They could all pay me $1,000 each, and I just made $10,000. Or side B, I could tell the 3 people who aren't qualified, hey, not for you. And I could take the 7, have them get going and make money. And that was the 2 different routes. So on this side, I only made $7,000, but in the long run, well, what do people do when they're successful, right? They leave you reviews, they leave you testimonials, they tell your friends, they tell their family. And number 2, the most important thing as opposed to this side, there's no bad reviews, right? Negativity spreads 10 times faster than positivity, right? When you were in high school and you found out someone cheated on someone, it spreads like that. However, if you had someone that volunteered for a charity, no one gives a shit. It's just how it goes. That's why the news, especially in New York, if you ever watch it, it's all negative because it's addictive. People care about negativity. It spreads much faster than positivity. That's why they talk about 10 bad things and 1 good thing on the news, right? They do that to retain more viewers, to get more people watching, which means they could charge more for their advertisements, right? Because a news station could charge you more if they have 1 million people watching versus 100,000 people watching, right? They know they're going to get more viewers talking about more negative things, okay? And same thing applies for what I'm doing here, right? I sell a program that teaches people how to make money buying and selling sports cards. Well, guess what? If you go look up our reviews, you'll see hundreds of good ones and maybe 1 or 2 bad ones. The reason you see that is because we turn people away who aren't good fits. So we make as much money in the long run. So when you are interested about joining our program, well, what do? You go on Google, you go on YouTube, you look at our reviews, and you're looking for people that's saying it's a scam. But when you can't find anything and everything's good, well, that's a big selling point. Now, as opposed to if I sold these 3 people and I kept doing that, I kept going that bad route of just selling people that shouldn't be in the program, well, you're going to see a lot of bad reviews. And guess what? Let me tell you something about business and life, okay, which is funny. If you have 10 successful people, maybe 3, 4 will give you good reviews, something like that. If you have 10 pissed off people that didn't make any money, all 10 are leaving a bad review. Okay? That's just how it works. We actually have to go so far in our program to run giveaways and raffles for the successful people in our program who make money because they're kind of I don't really want to share what I've been doing. I like to keep it to myself, but we don't want them to keep it to themselves. We want them to spread the good word of, making money buying and selling sports cards. And we actually have a raffle every other week for the people who have made money, and we put them into a raffle, and they get a ticket if they posted a good review about us, and they can only post a good review if they've made a certain amount of money. And that's actually what we have to do, because people who have good experiences don't like to talk as much as people with bad ones, which is strange how it works. But yeah, but that's why we have so many good reviews. And it's funny because I get people all the time that say to me, he pays actors for his testimonials. I'm like, my God. And what's crazy is, now that we're on this topic, there's a guy in that same school group. So that guy who I was just talking about was in our school group. There was another guy in our school group who joined and just wanted to see the idea, what it was like to make money with sports cards, right? It's only $47 a month. And this dude, I forget your name. I'm sorry. We spoke last week. Oh, shit. I want to give you credit here, so I'm going to look up your name. I'm so sorry. I forgot your name. I just spoke with you too. Lewis. Yes, that's right. Lewis. So me and Lewis, I guess I'm not going to say your last name, Lewis. You may not want that. But me and Lewis, so Lewis lives in Los Angeles. He went to a garage sale. You can't make this shit up. This is insane. Lewis went to a garage sale and he found a stack of cars, and they looked like they were in good condition. There were a few decent ones in there that he thought were like worth like 30, 40, $50. And he learned how to buy, grade, and sell cards being in the program. And one of the cards in the middle of the stack was a 2004 Mega Cracks Lionel Messi, the one of him kind of taking a photo shot like this. It's 2004, 2005. And he saw it, and he was like, there's no way this card is real. And he said it was in perfect condition. And he looked it up online. He was like, holy crap. This card sells for $1,000 plus. And he sent it in to get graded. And the card graded a 10. You can't, I'm not making this up. You could look it up. I'm going to tell you where to look it up after this. And card graded a 10. And a PSA 9 of that card is worth a few grand. A PSA 10 is like 30 grand. And he sold it on Golden Auctions for $31,000. And he ended up netting in his pocket $26,000. And which is life-changing money to this guy. If you go on Golden Auctions and look up the last auction, Mega Cracks Lionel Messi, you'll see it sold for $31,200. I shit you not. He found that in a garage sale, and he bought a stack of cards for $50. And me and him were laughing about it. The testimonial will be on YouTube soon. Me and him were laughing about it. He's like, I saw the stack of cards, and I saw the Lionel Messi in there, and it was just a lady who had, maybe her husband passed away, and she was having a garage sale. And he said he knew the card was worth something. He was trying not to freak out. So he said he was like sweating, but he was trying to play it cool. And he was like, how much do you want for these stack of cards? And the lady was like, I don't know, $50. And he was like, okay, deal. And he ran out of there. She was probably like, what the hell? But yeah, crazy story. And that is not common. Like, even to me, I've only ever found one crazy, like, estate lot or garage sale find like that. It made me like 20 grand. It's not predictable, but it's better to be lucky than good, right? That's what they say. That's the old saying. But yeah, congratulations to you, Lewis. You deserve a shout out. 26 grand, not bad. And the craziest freaking part about this. So his wife was pissed off. She paid $50 for a bunch of worthless cards. And then he had to pay $200 to get it shipped with insurance to send it to PSA. And his wife saw this charge, and he was trying to explain to her, like, he didn't tell her that he found a card worth that much because she wouldn't believe him. But he was explaining to her, I have these cards, we're going to make profit on it, this was how to do it. And she was just against it, like totally against it. Like, no, there's no way sports cards sell for this much. And he finally revealed the Lionel Messi card to her when it was on Golden Auctions. And it was with 4 hours left, he told me. And the card had it was at $10,000. And he showed his wife, he was like, look, honey, this is the card I found in the garage sale. I paid $50 for it. It's at $10,000 with 4 hours left. And his wife didn't believe him. She just like ignored it. She was just like, yeah, you're making shit up. You're an idiot. You wasted our money, blah, blah, blah. And the card goes to $31,000. Since she didn't believe him at $10,000, he didn't even show her that it went up to $31,000 by the time it ended. Because she just thought like sports cards were a scam or whatever. And the money hit the bank account like next week. And she started just, I think, crying or something. I forget. And now she's asking him, when are you buying more cards? When are you buying more cards? So she went from don't buy sports cards, you're wasting your time, to when can you buy more cards? And he told me they took 20 grand, put a down payment on a house, and he's taking 6,000 to reinvest into cards, which I think is a smart move. But what's interesting, I find it funny because we have a sales team that sells people into the program if it makes sense for them. And just wives are always just anti-sports cards, even like just don't understand it. Just nothing against. I don't blame them. Like if I heard the idea of making money with sports cards, I'd probably think it's stupid too if I haven't done it before. So I don't blame them. Pretty crazy story. Some other stuff that came to my attention over the course of the next week. Here's something crazy though. This is just fucking crazy. Excuse my language. This is wild. I have a lot of energy this morning. All right, back to dating. I know you guys love the dating stuff. So I met this incredible girl. Great, pretty, everything you could ask for, right? And she's in medical school. She's towards the end. And she told me she's $500,000 in debt. Pretty crazy. And what's crazy about medical school is, if you don't know, so you go to school for 7 or 10 years, and at the end, you do 3 years of residency, I believe. And you work like 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Shit is no joke. And she told me she did the math. And she ended up, like, the way it worked is she ended up coming out to like $12 to $13 an hour. And she went to medical school for so long. And granted, in the few years from now, when she gets out of the residency, all will be good. But I think that's just insanity. And I know it's different because people in the medical field, a lot of them, some do, I'm sure, but a lot of them don't go in for the money, right? Like, I got into sports cards, just to be straightforward, for the money, even though I love sports. But like, I got into it because I wanted to work for myself. And in order to do that, you got to make money yourself and pay the bills. But I know people in the medical field are different because they get in because a lot of them truly enjoy helping people. That's kind of like their calling. I can't really relate because my calling is helping people make money with sports cards. Her calling is helping people so they don't die. But isn't that just insane? Like 10 years of school, $500,000 in debt, and then you get out and it's like $13 an hour for 3 years. What kind of crap is that? Like, I thought, people, our program, we have two of them. One's cheaper, one's more expensive. It could immediately make you a few grand a month, get you going with a few grand a month. And people are so on edge, like, man, like, I don't know if it's worth the financial investment. Just, I don't know. But like, medical school's like $500,000. I just insane. I just had to say that out loud because it's fucking crazy. And also something she told me is she has like her boss is an asshole. And what is crazy, like, I explained this to her and I just think it's fascinating. So do you guys remember when you were in elementary school? And remember in elementary school, your teacher would say to you, like, you got to stop losing your homework because they're never going to take this crap. In middle school, right? It's never going to fly. Then in middle school, same thing. You got to stop doing this because in high school, they're not going to put up with it. And then in high school, it's the same exact thing. And they say, hey, you just got to stop doing this. They're never going to put up with this in college. And same thing in college. They're never going to put up with this in the workplace. But guess what? And I know all you guys watching this right now, whether you own a business, whether you're in school, whether you're in corporate America, could relate to what I'm about to say. People never change. If you put a bunch of people together, there's always petty baby drama. And this girl, for example, told me her boss, who's like, I would assume is some sort of doctor that went to medical school for 10 years and probably is very established in this field, treats her like crap because, I don't know, he likes her co-resident or something like that. I'm like, dude, like, these people are at like the highest status in American society. Like, being a doctor is a very high status thing. And people just don't change. It's nuts. And I know people in corporate America, at least I worked in corporate America for 5 days, same crap. There's like drama. People act like they're 4 years old. It really never changes since elementary school. It's the same thing forever. It's just people are people. And I just think it's interesting. And I'll leave it off with this. So last thing I want to talk about. So I'm not going to say any names here. But so I bought my two buddies and my dad and myself Mets tickets this past Tuesday. Tuesday was game 3 of the Phillies series. So yes, Tuesday. And I bought it for one of my friends who I met through the internet who helped me grow my business. And the tickets were like $700. And I told him, dude, you've helped me out a lot. I don't want anything for it. You've done way more for me than this $700. Don't pay me a dime. Buy me a beer sometime. And we were talking about, like, we haven't talked in a while, and we were catching up, and he was telling me about, long story short, how his business partner is like not along the same mindset that he is. And I just feel so bad for him because this person has a lot of potential because he has like that same inner drive that I have. Like, you could tell when you speak with someone if they have, like, this is not going to sound good or bad, but just part of the reason I've been able to grow to this point, especially with like Major League Profits and sports cards, for better or for worse, I have like this inner obsessiveness with like business and growing, and I love progress, and I love learning new things. I can't stop talking about it. If you ever meet me and I'm with people just around my same mindset, just, I don't shut the fuck up. I can't stop talking about it. And this person's the same way. And he should be crushing, but he's not because, in my opinion, I think his business partner is holding him back. And I told him, dude, cut it. And it's hard for him because his business partner is the one who introduced him to this game of like internet marketing and stuff. So it's hard. It feels like he owes him. It's kind of like a relationship. It's just, I know it's easier said than done because I'm talking from the outside and there's no emotion involved with what I'm saying. But you really are like, where's that tattoo? I think it's here. It's like over there somewhere. I think that says that's it. You're a product of your environment. I got that tattooed on me because I truly do believe it. I had a few instances where that really showcased. And you really are. Like the people you surround yourself with just could really make or break you. I promise you. I promise you it's to the highest degree. Like if you're in a relationship and you're with a girl and she's constantly pulling you down and making you feel guilty for working, making you feeling guilty for investing money into yourself, it's going to be fucking hard to succeed, man. I promise you. It is. And I'm so fortunate. Like, I know I don't talk about like my personal life that much, but I am blessed to the highest degree where my business partner, we were housemates in college. You never see him. His name is John. He runs like the sales team and stuff like that. But we were best of friends first. And then we became business partners. And we both have like that inner obsessiveness I just talked about. So we both have really, really probably overly good work ethics. And also on top of that, our values are the same. So we value money in the same way. Like we like investing it. We're not materialistic. We don't give a shit about buying a Lambo or a Bentley. Like we just don't care. And we do have nice cars, but like, for example, I have a very nice car, but I bought it for me, like, because it's fun to drive. I'll never post about it. You'll never hear me say what it is. I just don't care to tell people because I don't care about showing off materialistic things. I buy things for myself. And if you're getting into a business relationship, you need that. And this person who is business partners with my friend does not have that. He like cares a lot about what people think, has like $30,000 in fixed personal expenses every month. That's like driving the business down, which is insane amounts of money on fixed personal expenses. Like I don't have near that, which is crazy. But yeah, that is really all I got to talk about. So hopefully I'm trying to convince my buddy to start his own business. Yeah, that's all I got. The last thing I got on my list of things to talk about is this is actually the last thing I'll say. So I was talking about this with my business partner. So we all live together. My business partner, one of my best friends who runs all our marketing and content. Once again, his name, I'm not even going to say his name, but you'll never see him. We all live together. Amazing relationship. We do a bunch of things together. And we were watching, there's videos on YouTube about like courses and programs and people going over them and like saying this is a scam because of X, Y, and Z. And there's a lot, you've probably seen these YouTube videos. I think there might even be one about me. Like, is Eric Michael a scam ? And people like will say like, oh, it's a scam because of this and that, or it's not a scam. First of all, nothing is ever a scam, right? Scam is a spectrum. Something can be more scammy or less scammy, right? It's like a teacher in high school. Like no teacher is just absolutely zero bad. They could be worse or they could be better, right? That's kind of how it works. But let me leave you off with something. Because when I was 18 years old, and I started to buy and sell sports cards, my parents were like, you're an idiot. You're going to lose your money. Don't do it. You're going to get scammed. Waste of money. Now, I am a very optimistic person, if you haven't noticed. So I tend to think that anything is possible. And let me say something that's corny, but it's true to the highest degree. If you are stupid enough to believe that you can make money with sports cards because, people are going to think you're stupid because most people don't have the mental bandwidth to invest in themselves and take unorthodox risks besides putting money in a retirement fund and getting their paycheck and paying the bills. If you're dumb enough to believe that, you will be the ones to succeed. Take it from my own personal life. My parents told me, nope, sports cards, no good. And when I started Major League Profits, my mom was like, you should get a job first. It's not going to work just starting a business. I proved you wrong, Mom, even though I love you. So if you are dumb enough to, like, if you just think everything's a scam and everything's out to get you, you're fucked. You're not going to succeed. And I can promise you there will be courses and programs you buy and things you do to invest in yourself, and you will lose money. I could guarantee it. You will spend money on something. You will spend a few grand on something. It will not work or will not be for you. And you'll waste a few $1,000s. But if it was just so easy to just buy something and just boom, automatic success, everybody would do it. But there's a reason most people don't get ahead in life because one, they can't deal with a failure, which is good. At least they took the first step. And two, most people can't even take the first step. So I'll leave you off with that. If you think everything is a scam, you're probably not going to get to where you want to be in life because that's just a negative mindset to have. But hopefully you enjoyed this. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. I try to get to my comments in YouTube and take the comments and answer them in these podcasts. But hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.